Hello and welcome to Marsden's Art House. I'm Ian David Marsden. I'm an internationally published cartoonist and illustrator with over 30 years experience. I work in all different kinds of software, the full creative suite. One of my favorite programs is Procreate. This is a not very expensive at all one-time purchase in the App Store. Procreate has another program called Dreams, which is a fantastic animation software. I'm also a fully trained and experienced animator, and maybe one day we'll do some videos about that as well. This first video in the series of hopefully many is just to show you a little bit the interface and the menus in Procreate. Obviously, this video is not interesting if you're already an experienced old pro with Procreate. This is to show people who don't know the software, who have just started. Unfortunately, the software is only for Apple products. I don't believe that there is a version for Android, at least not yet. And there's also no desktop version. So this is purely an iPad tool. However, you can create layered Photoshop files in Procreate, which you can then later work with on your desktop. They're completely compatible, and you can work in incredibly high-resolution, large files in Procreate. Here you can see them all at once. You have your gallery with your artwork, your brushes, your layers, and your colors. As you can see in this file, which I created to explain the interface of Procreate, you can see all the elements as I place them. I'm turning them on and off with the check mark on the right. You also have various blend modes, pretty much as you would in Photoshop. Transform tools. You can lock the transparency. Procreate is just an extremely powerful tool. Here's an illustration I made for a Swiss magazine for people enjoying a coffee. Here you can see my colors with the lines turned off. And you can see how I organize things. For example, the stripes on the lady's pants were on a separate layer with a blending mode. This is an illustration I made based on a photograph for a DJ for his website. He provided me with a photograph of himself and also of his very striking tattoo, which I kept next to my drawing so that I had a reference. And I think I pulled it off. Here's a fun little doodle that I did, which I do quite frequently. I just doodle ahead. I don't even know where it's going to end. It ended up being little animals with their favorite cheeses. One of the things I love about Procreate, it'll make a time-lapse video of your drawing for you. You don't even have to hit record. It'll be there if you want it. Let me just demonstrate very quickly how you would do a little sketch in Procreate. I usually like to start a very rough scribble in a sort of light blue-gray using a watercolor brush just to sketch in the rough areas. And I do a little Santa sitting in the snow waving. I would then flesh out the sketch a little bit with a pencil, still in blue, just to know roughly where I'm going to place everything. Again, this is just going to be a very, very rough sketch, just to show you the basics. I can turn down the opacity now for my little blue sketch. And on the next layer in black, I'll use one of my drawing pens. In Procreate, you can also create shapes. If you draw a circle and stay and press on the screen, it'll ask you if you want a full circle. The same goes for rectangles and other shapes. I always do my line artwork on one layer, or at least in a separate group. And then I add the colors on layers below. So here's a little rough sketch of Santa's head. Now we have a little rough sketch of Santa's head. I'm just going to add a little bit of watercolor below. Now normally watercolor cannot be erased, but of course in Procreate you can. It blends beautifully. Now let me just take a chalk to make a little background. This chalk could also be erased. And in a few minutes, you have a fun little spot illustration. Of course, you can also create much more complicated Santa Clauses with many layers, as you can see here. The piece took many, many hours and was for a cover for a book. I even placed the typography into the artwork to make sure that the placement was correct. I hope you enjoyed this little demonstration, and I hope you enjoy Procreate.